Good evening. Good evening. Welcome, 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 everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again for another segment of TouchTone Presentation. Tell your story. My goodness, how we have heard amazing stories over just a brief few weeks. And those stories are ministering like none other. Just imagine, folks, everyday folks, just like you, just like me, but amazing stories of how we have overcome, how we have achieved success, and how we continue to do what we've talked about for so long, how we influence, how we impact, and how we leave an impression in this earth realm. Tonight, then, is no different. We have an amazing, amazing young man. I've had the privilege of knowing him for about the last 4 or 5 years or so. But I tell you this, he is who I call my brother from another mother. There is none like him. And so I want you to get somebody to come over on tonight just to hear this segment of Tell Your Story as we share the ministry in ministry. That is MEN. Yes, ministry in ministry. And so it is a men's night out. I want you to help me welcome none other than my brother, that is Pastor Derek D. Harris. We just call him Pastor D. Hey, Pastor D, tell us about it. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Dr. Dark. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing amazing. Good to see
Excuse me,
you.
Dr. Dark-Goudeau. Sorry about that.
And
Amen.
you know you have to leave that little segment in. We have a little
Shout out to my
someone
brother,
around here
Dr.
that's
Goudeau.
like,
Amen. Amen.
thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Yes, you're looking great here.
Thank you, sis. Thank you. I'm very appreciative of you having me on tonight, asking me to be a part of something that's a major move in the kingdom of God. And, privately, personally, and publicly, I want to tell you thank you.
My pleasure, my privilege on tonight. You know, we've rolled it ever since I see 3 days, and you guys, y'all know how I do stuff. I'm rolling in late. It's packed over there with Dr. Ralph West running that show like nobody's business. And I get there filled to capacity in that old chapel, looking around and somebody gets up and I'm like, there's an empty seat. I think we gotta move here. And who would know it would set up this connection on tonight? Yeah. Yeah. Sat down by my
Amen.
brother. So yeah, tell us
Amen.
a little bit about who is D. Harris.
Who is D. Harris? I am the son of Elizabeth and Calvin Smokey Joe Harris.
I
Um,
like that Smoky Joe.
and I'm the third of four children, and have two brothers and one sister. Native of the Memphis, Tennessee, by way of Orange Mound, which is the oldest, first African American neighborhood in the United States.
Wow.
Yes, just a young man that loves God and loves people of God. Um, a bivocational pastor here in the city, and just love God. I am a athletic guy. Try to tell people I still got it. I'm not washed up. I still got it. So um, big on sports and just a guy who loves the Lord.
Wow, I like that. I like that. Well, he is all that and so much more, y'all. And just to let me give a shout out to my sister and my niece over in Memphis. Thank y'all so much for allowing me to borrow your sweetie and your daddy on tonight. I'm gonna
Amen.
hand him back real
Amen.
soon. Okay.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
While we're here, we're gonna be blessed by you. So you tell us a little bit about you and historic neighborhood as well as amazing parents. I might add that has raised a son to be pastor. But now, how long have you been in ministry?
Um, Counting as in ministry in a whole, it's 20, right at 25 years, but in the preaching ministry, this September will be
Mm.
20 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, 20 years of preaching.
You
I've
don't look
been,
much more, the years have been more than wonderful
oh
given the
Lord,
vocation.
watch my head out of the camera now.
I don't say nothing about that. Wow, 20
Yes,
years.
yeah. So, been in the ministry. I say that because my way of coming in the ministry of how God was using me was very unique, and I give so much of that credibility to my pastor. Uh, he's pastor emeritus now, but to my pastor who saw that in me that I didn't know within myself what God was doing,
Hmm.
but I was just along for the ride, and God was using me in major ways, even as a
Aw.
young man.
Mm, So how does that play in? You're a young man, you have this mentor, and it sounds a little bit to me, you and I've talked a while, but a little bit like an Eli Samuel thing here. And he sees something in you. You're hearing the
Well,
call, but he sees something in you, and you're so young.
I think it goes back to, and even as we get deeper, my pastor had I grew up in a church where it was, we had men.
Hmm.
We had men in the church. And my pastor, he pastored three generations of my family. And
Yeah.
so my grandmother had eight boys and four girls, and it was so many young men
Yeah.
in the family, and we were all in church. My pastor had a knack for that, and even when some things transitioned after years down the line, as my
Mhm.
football scholarship didn't go the way it needed to go. I never forget, I was in Bible study one night. I was about 19, and we was preparing for our vacation Bible school, and my pastor put me up to teach, and and I'm teaching a young group of kids, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, and I'm 19 years old, just turning 20, and so within that, it all played a part because how he saw and discovered, even as a young man,
Mhm.
having young men issues.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Right there.
my,
Young
my
man issue.
pastor was, yes, my pastor, his major thing was keep them in church. Keep
Mm.
them in church.
Mm.
Keep them in church. I mean, on any given Sunday,
Mm.
you would see 40, 45 young men in church, and
What-
all of us were, yeah, oh yeah, yes. At the New Friendship Church, it was amazing, and so many gifted young men were birthed out of that church up under that
Yeah.
leadership. So, yeah, my pastor, he kind of had that, and I really didn't know,
Mhm.
but I just stayed. It was a passion. It was a
Mm.
drive that would
Wow.
not leave. And my
Wow.
younger cousin
Yeah.
um, preached his first sermon, Pastor Christopher Williams, who was an amazing preacher,
Yeah.
and he had preached his first sermon. And I told my pastor that we was in the office, and I said, "Man, he preached a powerful sermon." And my pastor, as he always would do, looked up in the sky, kind of chuckled, and he said, "Yeah, we got one more." And during the time, I didn't know what he was talking about. And when God called me, uh, I wasn't a preacher that ran. I got on the plane.
Ah.
I got on the plane and I started trying to hide behind some other little things in the church to make it seem as if
Yeah.
I was doing the ministry that he was calling me to do. And
Yeah.
I never forget, I had a rough time, and I had an incident that happened to me. And I'm going to share this real quick,
Yeah.
where I had got a radiator fixed in my car, and I was on my way to work. and and the car started running hot, so I pulled over a little intersection off the interstate, Hex Cross in Memphis, 385. Got to the Amico, pulled to the side, raised the hood up. Before I could even loose the top, it burst off and it hit me on the side of
Mm,
the face, and I
mm,
had
God.
2nd-degree burns.
Mm,
And so my face was looking pretty bad. And on the next following week, I went to church,
mhm.
and my I'm leaving in the car with your buddy, my cousin Bird,
Yeah.
and and
Hey, Brother Bird.
and everybody was being so nice to me, and I could see it just as plain as day. Come down the stairs, the late Miss Sylvia Walker. She walks over to the side of the driver's side, and Bird rolls down the window, and she tells me that your life will never be nothing until you preach the gospel.
Whoa. Whoa.
Why are you running? Give
That's
it up
huge.
to the Lord and let God use you. So
That is huge.
my preaching came in because someone saw it in me and they
Mhm.
knew it. And the late Sylvia Walker, she rebuked me
Wow.
and told me that nothing would ever go right in my life
Yeah.
until I preached the gospel.
Amazing. Amazing. That is that. I mean, that alone is amazing and a testament to why you're sitting here today. But we hear those things, and open rebuke is not something that any of us like, but Bible says better than secret shame. And as
Yes.
you think about that and the shaping of your life as well as your ministry and where you're sitting today, what are three problematic areas that you consider problematic in your area with respect to men? Because now you're talking about coming through an era where your pastor, your mentor, was able to kind of oversee 45 young men, hormones everywhere, tendencies everywhere, temptation, as we say, everywhere. And yet he was able to speak into your life and leave such an impact that so many of you have moved on successfully. So take that and then contrast it to what you're seeing now. What's problematic in the area where you are with regards to young men now? Maybe everywhere.
Yes. Dr. Dr. Goodo, one of the things that I do, three of the things that I see that has always been a problem, but we see it more prevalent now is, and I can couple this together, is race,
Mm, okay.
religion,
Mhm.
and resources.
Watch out. Start
Uh,
start with that. Go ahead.
yeah,
Race.
race, religion, and resources. When we see
Mm,
that we still, in the city of Memphis, there's still this highfalutin, uh, this new age
mhm,
Jim Crowism
mhm,
um, here in the South, where there's a strong sense of uh, clashing of racism that's uh, spiritual wickedness in high places,
wow.
which which moves down to the sense of being backed up by religion
Mm. Support it
and
with the book.
being backed up by religion. And for those that,
So is that
uh,
a la carte ministry? I'll pick a scripture and that supports my opinion
okay,
instead of I'm asking, is that like what we call the a la carte ministry? I'm just going to
yes,
pick a scripture that supports my opinion instead of
yes,
my opinion next to the word and
yes,
see what it has to say. Go ahead. You
yes,
this is your
because it,
benefit.
yes, because in a sense of it, it backs up
Mhm.
the racism,
Yeah.
and it's still in many ways, as Dr. King said, that I know we got our 9:45 drive-through services and all that, but 11 a.m. is still the most segregated hour in this country.
Mhm.
And in the
Yeah.
last few years, we have actually seen how divided we are, um,
Mhm.
how we have been. But in this city, which means that it's backed up to the lack of resources.
Yeah.
Um, And then when we see that there's a lack of resources,
Mm.
we see that there is a strong sense of poverty
Yeah.
in this city in which we live.
Mm.
And I tell people this all the time: poverty
Mm.
is a mentality and not a community.
Mm.
But when you leave, but when you have lack of resources, when you have religion that's being backed up through racism,
Mm.
you leave and see a community of people with no hope,
Yeah.
and it's a major challenge to us today, even as young pastors and young preachers. My pastor and the men in our group around, they care nothing about trying to be hip
Mm.
to gain us. They want to show and my uncles and and all of us was something, but they showed us about what how to connect.
Mm.
See, how can we lead people whom we won't love?
Ah.
Can we love them if we
Wow.
don't listen?
Wow.
We talk at them, but we don't talk to them.
Wow.
We talk
Wow.
at them with statistics and yes, it comes through in a household sense, because hey, the church can't correct what the family neglects,
Ooh.
but it won't know it until we show it. So that is a major, major issue, systemic issue here in this community, and it's a
Wow.
whole lot of us here.
Wow. Now we've asked you, wow, that what enlightenment there. Looking at those three areas: race, religion, and resources, and those resources bringing in certain struggles that we see, which you've hit them. Poverty being a mentality, not a community. I'm just sitting here like, wow, and I'm listening to the download system over here is going as I'm listening to you. But now when they bring them to you, you know, um, how do you address those struggles? Because we're talking about some things that have come out of these three areas, and you've already hit my next question, the struggles that we're seeing with poverty and a lack of listening. But you talked about a four-letter word, love. How do you, as pastor now, husband, father, bivocational, how do you now use that four-letter word that we were left with to start to address the struggles that you are seeing predominantly in men? And it sounds like it's not just a Memphis issue. Sounds like it's a
No,
little bit broader. Yeah.
words of the late Shock G, he said all around the world, just the
Yes.
same old song.
Yeah.
Um, one of the ways that I personally
Hmm.
address it is that through transparency and honesty, that I am a man who loves God
Mm.
and who's learning to love God.
Yeah.
I love God and I'm learning to love God. I'm learning to
And
trust Him. So
yeah.
one of the things is that, and especially in the church, man, especially with us hermeneutical, exegetical uh, buffs,
Yeah.
we can sometimes try to escape
Mhm.
the reality
Yeah.
of these issues and problems.
Yeah.
Sometimes we try to escape the reality that we ourselves see that same struggle,
Mhm.
see those same things that we had to deal with,
Mhm.
and that God delivered us in the dark,
Yeah.
but we have those same traits.
Mhm.
That's why Paul told the church at Galatians that if a man be overtaken in the fault, you which are spiritual, restore him,
Mhm. Mhm.
knowing ye yourselves.
Yeah.
And one of the things is that you got to be able to see that you're not that far away from where they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And
I like
and
what you said, spiritual, and the way the word says it's spiritual and not perfect.
yes, yeah, because if that be the case, your perfection will be when your tombstone is read. God is
Mm,
still God is still using me while He's working on me.
Mm.
And because of ideology in our
Mhm.
culture is bashed with ideology.
Yeah.
And we in the religion world, we don't have to down the people in the world, because we look at it, even in the religion world, is certain people that have the national mic
Mhm.
get to set the tone
Yeah.
for other people, other ministries that have to
Yeah.
work so hard against false things that are being taught. And
Mhm.
so when we see this, we have to act in pure love. Now,
Yeah.
listen here, let me tell you, love, there's a form of correction when it comes to
Yeah.
love. I remember I grew up where we got whooped with switches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd call them, I look at it now, I can call them. My mama would take them and tie them together, and
Mhm.
don't let it be done been raining out there. And we had what you call confident whoopings, which
Yeah.
means sometimes my mama would let us go pick the switch.
Yeah.
But if the switch, come on, shit. But if the
Come
switch wasn't
on.
big enough, you had to go get another one. But here's the
Go
thing
back.
about it:
Yeah.
even when your mother was whooping you, she still had her hand on
Come on. Come
you.
on.
And we have to make sure that we're not being so dogmatic
Yes.
in our ministries. You
Mhm.
know, don't be so dogmatic. Remember that you're not that far away. And so when I see that personally, as a
Mhm.
man myself, because I haven't arrived, I have
Mhm.
not arrived.
I
I
like
know
that.
this. I know the struggles.
Yeah.
I know the struggles. I'm gonna
Yeah.
move on and let you go because I don't want to
I,
go too
I'm
far.
just no, because you're right here. So what personal challenges in particular help you to address men as they walk in? Men with broken homes, men with broken hearts, men that may have not seen their children, men that society has told you're never going to come out of this. What personal challenges that you have faced that help you to address them? Because I believe there's the spiritual and there's the practical. So as we talk to people, spiritual, yes, we can address them when they've been overtaken in a fault, because we who are spiritual can do that. But then there's that practical side that says, I see you. So what were those challenges? Or can you just name us maybe one, maybe it's more? Mm.
The challenge of uh, staying humble. What do I
Mm.
mean by what do I mean by that? Our community, hear me well, and I'm a black man, young black man, grew up on the black block in a black neighborhood to black parents,
Yeah.
had the same issues that every other young man has growing
Okay.
into. Because
Mm.
here's the thing about it, we're afraid to say this, and I say this tonight since I'm talking to the doctor. Um, there were some sins that I
Yeah.
didn't struggle with until I got saved.
Oh, let
I
that sit.
know,
Yeah, let's
yeah, I
sit. Go
know
ahead.
that
Go ahead.
I know that we saved, sanctified, uh, washed in the blood, born again, been down to the
Come on.
river, been baptized. I know our soul been converted, feel all right. We, when the head got dipped in the midnight dew, church on fire. I understand that, and I know that.
Oh my
But in
gosh.
my growth, there have always been those challenges. And one of
Yeah.
the things is that I see myself still having to deal with it as being a bivocational
Mm.
pastor, seeing the everyday
Mhm.
struggles of life, the everyday struggle of,
Mhm.
and I'm not being racist, trying to be prejudiced when I say this, the everyday struggle of black men, the
Yeah.
challenge of a black man to try to prove
Yeah.
that he's not what society says,
Yeah.
he's not what systemic racism says. And watch this, he's not even what some have gained into the minds of even other blacks.
Yeah.
have said.
Yeah.
So to be able to let someone know that I've been down that road,
Yeah.
I know what it feels like. As a
Mhm.
matter of fact, I still know how to drive that way.
Mm.
But there's a better way. There's a different way. There's a
Yeah.
different challenge because our neighborhoods around the world are filled. Listen to what I'm saying. We're taught
Mm.
from the top down to the bottom up to have urinal contests.
Mm. I
So our
remember.
men,
Yeah.
so with having, you told me to tell it like
Yeah.
it is. So
Yes.
within that, that's competition
Yeah.
in our neighborhoods from moving from unario, move to funario. Our
Mm.
morgues are filled
Hmm.
with us people that look like us, young men that look like us, trying to prove to someone,
Wow.
trying to get rich or die trying, but they forgot to tell you that if you die trying, you die a broke person.
Mm.
And broken in heart because the family, the father, many fathers are not in the home. Many of us, and I just said, many of our friends that I even grew up with in the neighborhood, probably maybe one had a dad in the house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
many men know what that's like to go out and try to be a part of society and feel as if you're never being heard. You got to
Mm.
fight against the stigma even on television now.
Yeah.
The plays that our sisters go and support. Ain't no more good black men. It's the good black man in the house. And all of this stuff builds into tearing down the
Mhm.
kingship, the man
Yeah.
that God has made us. And so we have to stay sane. We have to be delicate, use delicate gloves. Use your
Mhm.
gloves, but they have to be delicate. We have
Yeah.
to see how Jesus did it.
Exactly. Exactly. And you kind of led into my next question is, which as women, obviously, when we meet that brokenness, you talked about the tender gloves, so to speak. What is one of the worst things, we off grid a little bit, and one of the best things that a man can hear from a woman when he's got a broken heart? What's the worst thing? And then what's the best thing? Worst thing first.
The worst thing, one of the worst, it's quite a
Yeah.
few of them. I try to get one.
No
uh,
hold
one of
barred.
the uh, one of the worst things is to ignore him.
Mm,
What I mean by ignore him, not hear him,
mm,
because many sisters do have a tendency of wanting to be heard by him,
mhm,
but not concerned about hearing the hurt that's in his heart.
mhm,
So we tend to sometimes close it up, don't share it, and then the first time you throw it up in his face, he goes on lockdown and you'll never get him back to where he
wow,
was. So that's one of the worst things you can do is to ignore him
wow.
because there's a whole lot that he wants to share, that
Mhm,
he wants to say. And even though we're not talkative in a whole lot of cases, but don't
mhm,
ignore him because if
mhm.
you ignore him, you ignore the signs. You ignore
Wow,
his hurt. You ignore his pain.
wow.
And one of the best that she can do is simply, to me, smile.
Hmm, hmm.
There's a strategy behind your smile.
Wow. So it's not the new dress, it's not the new hairdo, it's not, I
Now
got this
we need that.
long.
You need
Okay.
that.
I'm just asking. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm
we give
I'm
them
taking
something
my
to
notes.
smile about. Yeah, you gotta give them something to smile about. but to simply because it's almost being said, and I don't want to because of women. Period. I don't want to
Yeah.
use this black stigma. Women. Period. It's always said that women always carry an attitude.
Mm.
And then they take it out on the men
Yeah.
who supposedly who they love or
Yeah.
who they want to, who they look to being with. And they're
Yeah.
always walking around with an attitude. Angry sisters, angry woman.
Yeah.
And simply just to be able to let them see you smile. Let
Yeah.
him see if he really sees this smile, you got to worry about him getting up going to work. You don't have to worry about if he's gonna come to the house because he
Yeah.
has something to smile about. And
Wow.
when I say that smile, it's so much that leads into that. Because what happens is a lot of times you get to help arrest. Watch this, the boy that's in them. Because many times we speak ill on women and say that
Mhm.
they have daddy issues,
Mhm.
but there are a lot of men that got mommy issues.
Oh, 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 wait, that's smoking hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
And so,
ahead.
and so I'm not looking for you to be my mother, but in
Mhm.
the intrinsic quality and traits, I just want to be able to wind out. You'll be able to arrest the boy that's still in him, the happiness, that joy,
Yeah,
just from the likes and of that smile, which comes by so much behind it.
wow. I like that. I like that. Well, man, I'm exhausted time. I know we've got some people here. I want to leave a little time for questions, but you hit some hot spots already for me, and that was my power packing punch over there. We're in this post pandemic period, so to speak, and we've got a lot of brokenness, a lot of hurts that you've talked about. But the thing that you have learned, or maybe since the pandemic, what would you say is something that you would want to be somewhat of a legacy for you with all that you've known and then seeing so many things come through the pandemic? And hopefully we're on the other side, but we're still not sure. But a lot of things were exposed. What do you think your legacy? What would you like it to be? Um,
Um, he stayed the course.
hmm, I
He
like that.
stayed the course.
Okay,
I
the
mean,
core.
because um, giving up um, is not an option
Yeah.
for many. It's a reality.
Mhm.
And through what this pandemic has taught me, no matter about the glitz, the glamour, the camera, all the above, stay the
Mhm.
course.
Stay the course. Yeah.
Remain faithful.
Wow.
Stay the course. He stayed the course because it being that it pulled me as the series that we're in my church, talking about when God moves you from your comfort zone.
Mm.
He moved me from my comfort zone, but I stayed the course,
Mhm.
remaining faithful,
Wow.
preaching the gospel, whether if I'm doing it in person or whether
Yeah.
if I'm doing it in the office, I'm in the
Yeah.
kitchen, preach the gospel. He stayed the course.
He stayed the course. Wow.
Yes.
Mm. Now that's a legacy. Legacy. Well, listen, you guys have heard this. I want to touch a little bit. I've asked my questions, but he hit a few hot spots there. If you guys have questions, hit us up in the chat. Let us know who's here. I mean, I'm just honored. I'm just honored that you're here tonight. But you're sharing from your heart, and I think that's a conversation worth having. How do we speak to men in this season? And so he's opened a few doors for us. So you guys have questions, come on in the room. Let us know you're here. Ask the question. Hit us up somewhere. I'm going to check a couple of more platforms here just to make sure, because sometimes you guys do it on the other side for me. So I'm going to make sure I'm not missing anything. And okay, yeah, I think that's some other things, but we're just making sure we haven't missed anything on tonight. And so, yeah, they're still coming in a little bit. Don't see anything popping up right now. So I think that was pretty clear. So you guys have heard it here from the visionary, from the measure of a man, from the legacy living himself. And that is Pastor D. Harris. That I got to tell you guys, my phone's going off now. So maybe it's something they thought about. Let's see what we got. Yeah. Okay. So they're still waiting. But that was one of the big questions I think we had. was how to speak to men in this season. And what a real answer. The worst thing to ignore, to not hear is hurt. And then the best thing is to smile. Give him a reason to come home. Give him a reason to know he has a place. That's amazing. So I heard all that. Now you know you're gonna be back sometime later in this year. You know how I do things. I don't, I ask y'all maybe the first, one piece of time, and then I don't
Yeah.
ask anymore because you guys are just capable. So we're gonna be back to let you talk with men, um, more transparent as you do so well. And
Yes.
just to flow with it. But I got to tell you, I have been looking forward to this time all week long. This is amazing.
Wow.
Oh, we got a question now. They're typing in.
Oh
My
Lord.
question here is, come on, you got this. I'm gonna take myself off and let you guys talk with Dr. Harris a little bit. But the first question here is, my question is, if there's no communication, how can you hear him? I got another question after that. But if there's no communication, how can you hear him? And then we'll take the second question. I'm going to let you guys see him full face. I'm going to take myself down and I'll come back up for the next question.
Well, hmm, if there's no communication, how can you hear him? Well, just one of the things that women have to understand about men, ministry, all the above, he speaks without talking. So the communication is that what's around him, how effective are you involved in the things that he like or the things that he do? Because he's speaking may not be verbally, but he's speaking, and ask God to open up what I call that we spoke about last night in our Bible study is that during this time of connection, we have to have creative conversations. Ask God to allow you to have that creative conversation. And so there are many ways to tackle it, and we have to take the likes of that. And I'm speaking because many times we listen to the wrong voices. There are a lot of voices as I hear on TV, and I don't want to call anyone's name, but get away from this theology about think like a man, think like a woman, think like a man, and act like a woman. You'll never be able to do that. You will never be able to do that. So stop trying to think like him and just try to soothe into the conversation. He's talking in many ways, but it may not be verbally, but he is talking. So ask God to give you that creative conversation. And sometimes that creative conversation come with some of the most simple things that there is.
All right, all right. That's an amazing one. I thank you for that answer here. I have another question here. And I hope that as you, if you have more questions, just go ahead and type them in, guys. Ladies, I have, what were some other things or another thing that besides the incident with your radiator that you would say God sent as a sign of you running? I'll let you take that away. I'll let you think that.
One day I stayed in the house. I have a couple of incidents, but I stayed in the house. I was working at a youth facility, and I stayed in the house on the 4th of July in my apartment. All of my family was down having a great time, but I knew I had to go to work that night, so I didn't want to go anywhere. But I said I'm gonna go to my mom's house to go and get me something to eat. And soon as I get into my mother's neighborhood, walking distance from the house, police pulled me over and didn't even know I had a warrant for my arrest. And they took me to jail. And that was my first incident of going to jail. And as I'm sitting there being transferred from one jail in the city to another jail in the county, it was eye-opening to me because I knew just everything was falling. But I knew the Lord was just kind of letting so many things just go the wrong way. And I have a few more that I can share. But yeah, that was one of them.
Wow,
And
that's
I wasn't Paul and Silas. I wasn't Paul in the Philippian jail. I was
you-
get me. I need somebody to come get. But it was a clear indication
yeah.
that I had so many other incidents near death and so many things, and just God was sparing my life to give me
Mm,
this opportunity
mm,
to. And so I say that to anyone that asks that question, because one of the things that I ran away from, and I'm over my time, one of the things that I was running away from, running away from the fact that I didn't feel as if I was supposed to be a preacher. I didn't
mm,
feel as if I, quote unquote, looked like a preacher, sounded
mm,
like a preacher, wasn't a boy preacher, wasn't the one that said I was preaching on the stool at 3 years old. No, no. And so I started running away because I felt like I wasn't good enough.
mm,
And God knows what He's doing in life. And so, and when God called you, I had to learn this. When God called me, I didn't need permission because people may want to appoint you, but only God can anoint you.
mm. That's good, Pastor. That's good. That's good. Yeah, both of the ladies say thank you. Thank you for sharing those experiences. And that's what it takes. We have to be truly real. I want to ask a question from another standpoint.
Okay.
And as you said, I wasn't too worried about time. We're good. But this is a question which I think that sometimes we don't ask. What happens when you, as a man, you're called into ministry, but maybe we have men who are called to be CEOs, called to be in a difficult sector of livelihood. Maybe they have to travel here, there, etc. But nevertheless, in yours in particular, from your experience, what happens when you meet perhaps ministry couples where the husband has been called into ministry and the wife says, "You were called, not me." And they not only say it, but they live almost as if that is on point from their statement. Talk
I,
to us a little bit about those couples for which
I
you have
think
to ask. Go ahead.
I think that the first thing that needs to be understood, yes, the Lord did call him, but the first ministry is to his family, her family, to his family, and the first congregation, especially when the person comes into when they're together already, and he's been called, and there it is again.
Mhm.
It's easy to lose because guess what happens behind that smile?
Mhm.
Support,
Mhm.
support,
Yeah.
support. If that man can go to work, provide for you and your family, put food on the table. Old preacher said, working from can to can, and when he can, he's still trying to can,
Mhm.
and bending over backwards. And the least thing that he can get from his spouse, he can't get us to support him. She becomes almost on the verge of losing him.
Mm.
He or she can be in the house, but you be done lost him.
Mm.
And the greatest thing to do in that smile is to support.
Yeah.
You may not understand everything, but to be able to be supportive,
Mhm.
because they always say, besides every good man, That's a good woman.
Yeah.
But the Bible also says that it's better for a man to sleep on top of the roof than to be sitting in the house with a
Yes.
nagging, brawling woman. And
Yeah.
because of the lack of support that she shows,
Mhm.
there are other areas where other people will fill in and will
Yeah.
support. And sometimes that has to be seen for
Hmm.
sometimes you have to see that. So you need to know, or we need to know where we need to be on top of our game.
Exactly.
He
Wow.
preaches a sermon. He preaches. Everybody's coming talking about they're being delivered, and God has set them free, and the church was on fire. And I mean, a Billy Graham revival crusade happened, and he get in the car, and a whole week go by, you won't say nothing to him.
Mm.
And the first
Wow.
thing you do is he says something you criticize
Yeah.
about how his speech was and how he stumbled over a few words,
Yeah.
ignoring. So
Yeah.
in the same way, when you meet couples in ministry, just support and support their
Mhm.
love, because nobody wants to feel unsupported by
Right.
the person whom they go home to.
Mm. That's great.
Hopefully
That's
that
great right there. You did that. You did that. I wanted to hear that. Yeah. Thank you so kindly. My goodness. I know we spent a little time with you guys, but it's been valuable to me. I learned right along with you. And I just want to thank you again. Yes.
appreciate. Thank
Pastor, the doctor. Yeah, the Reverend.
you.
Yes, Derek D. Harris. Thank you
Thank
guys
you,
so much
sis.
for being with
Thank
us
you, sis.
tonight, and Pinnacle Point for sharing your amazing visionary. Thank you for sharing him, and of course, my sister and my niece. We bless you tonight for allowing us to spend a few moments with him. And so this has just been phenomenal for me. As I said, you're coming back, no doubt. And we're just gonna let you have free reign from the top down. They were getting to know you a little bit tonight, but we're gonna have it free reign, and we're gonna do this thing. Anything coming up for Pinnacle Point that we need to be on the lookout for?
At the moment, we're just, as a matter of fact, this Sunday is our first time being back in person together. Yes, so for the year, and so we was scheduled last week, but the snow stopped us and everything. So we're just we're preparing some things
Mhm.
and just mainly just focusing on the fellowship. We just
Yeah.
come out of our scandal revival, and so we got some
Uh-huh.
other things that I spoke to you about that we're trying to cook up, and we will let you all know.
Thank you.
And I want to encourage someone, even in ministry today. Don't make it seem
Uh-oh. Oh,
some sort of long rap sheet to make it seem as if you're doing major things in the kingdom. Just stay the course. Stay the course. If it's teaching a Sunday school class, teach that Sunday school class. If it's a vacation Bible school, teach it. It does not matter if it's a one-on-one class course with someone at your job or whatever case may be. You are doing major ministry in the kingdom of God. Stay the course. Stay faithful in a time like this.
wow. Thank you so much, bro. I
Bless
so
you, sis.
appreciate you. I'm going to let you out of here. Know that we will be in touch real soon. But you
Yes.
guys catch Pinnacle Point Bible Church on Sundays, live Facebook. I'm telling you, and after service, they do some wicked fellowship. That's all I'm going to say. This guy does what he says he does. He loves the people. His family loves the people. And I'm talking about love in action. I've seen this, bro, in action. You talk about love them into fellowship. They are doing this as a body like nobody else. So you want to keep your eyes on this particular guy and go back and get the scandal of Jesus Christ. When he first introduced that thing, I went, ooh, it was a scandal, wasn't it? That thing is wicked too. So love you to
Amen.
life, my brother from another
Love
mother.
you,
I'll
sis.
give it up for
Love you.
Pastor E. Harris. And thank you guys
Yes.
so much for joining us on tonight. We will do another segment. I can get these things right tonight. Another segment here on Tell Your Story on next week. We absolutely love you guys to life. Have a great evening. Good night.